Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 699. Boss Fight. Lone soldier, Frunzier Edward, who was on guard by the cave's entrance, saw a massive figure descend from the sky just as he moved. It landed on a huge boulder covered in thick layers of ice. The wings, which were covered in a membrane of skin, weren't retracted as they continued spreading outward, nearly blocking out all the surrounding light. The illusory armored scales that resembled frozen ice and the violent, eerie blue dragon eyes were immediately reflected in Frunzier's eyes. He instinctively sensed danger as he raised his iron-black sword and leaped to the side, rolling far away from where he was standing. Almost at the same moment, King of the North Ulyssen opened its mouth, silently spewing out a distorted icy blue flame towards the cave. It froze everything in its wake. Moments later, the icy blue flames produced a tidal wave formed from illusory light as they surged into the dark cave, sealing everything it passed in ice. The words, "Angel of Imagination, Adam," were still flashing across Klein's mind as he couldn't help but recall Emperor Rosel's description of the Twilight Hermit Order. Their mission was to revive the original creator, and they had a high sequence beyonder of the spectator pathway among their ranks, or even the uniqueness. The means in which they summoned the members was through a true dream that connected the eastern and western ends of the continent. Furthermore, it had the characteristic of being detected upon being mentioned. But even so, he still instinctively reacted in response to the impending danger. He lunged sideways, gouging towards the uneven parts of the cave, attempting to use the rocks ahead to block the attack. However, the surging icy blue light was like a tidal wave that drowned every corner of the cave. It sealed everything, leaving no safe zones inside the cave. Seeing his surroundings turn into an icy cage, a gigantic grayish-blue figure appeared before Klein's eyes. Grosel had stepped forward without a sound. He genuflected with his left knee, leaning his back forward as he stabbed the broadsword in front of him. Light that resembled the dawn of light bloomed as illusory walls formed to the left and right of Grosel, protecting everyone behind them. An icy blue, tidal wave surged over, splitting at the erect broadsword before colliding with the light of dawn on both sides. Everything in the mountain cave turned dark for Klein and company before a small source of light was restored. They could still see that the bonfire had been extinguished. It was especially dark with the dim rays of light outside attempting to tear through the layers of ice. At that moment, every inch of space in front of Grosel was frozen. The giant seemed to become a bug stuck in amber. Right on the heels of that, the sword which was embedded in the ground emitted a luster resembling the light of dawn. They mixed together, enveloping Grosel before turning into a hurricane of light that swept outwards. Silently, the layer of ice had a huge hole burned through it as it extended all the way to the cave's mouth. Grosel's grayish-blue figure had vanished from where he was. Elven songster Ciadas, who hadn't had time to tie her head, held her bow and arrows. Embraced by the swirling gales around her, she charged out the cave without any delay. Dressed in an asymmetrical black coat, the Solomon Empire Viscount Mobit Zoros mumbled, "Don't be in a rush," or, "It's finally here," as he ran, following closely behind Ciadas. The ascetic snowman stood up as well. He tapped his chest 4 times as though he was forming the shape of a cross. "May the Lord bless me!" Amidst his hoarse and dry voice, he stepped onto the biting cold ice with his bare feet and ran out of the cave. Klein didn't hesitate either. He didn't draw his revolver, and he kept his hands empty. Together with Anderson, who was clenching Death Brachydion tightly, they ran into the hole in the ice. Dressed in a shirt with complicated patterns, Edwina Edwards looked at Danitz, who was trembling due to the aura of the high-level entity. She said with a gentle, but emotionless tone, "Stay here." Having said that, the look in her blue eyes deepened. Gales howled around her, pushing her out of the cave. "Stay here." Danitz was stunned. He subconsciously surveyed his surroundings and saw the walls covered in frost and the completely extinguished bonfire. The cave was silent with him being the only one left. Danitz's trembling body slowly came to a stop as he turned to Getty. However, he didn't say a word as he saw his captain's figure disappear from the cave's entrance. Outside the cave, Frunzier Edward, who had just rolled to avoid the first series of attacks, saw Ulysses spread its wings as it was about to leap into the sky, closing the distance between it and his party. He ensured his safety as he steadied his figure and pushed his left palm out diagonally. Immediately following that, he declared a statement in ancient Hermes. "Flying is prohibited here." Suddenly, the frost dragon's wings that blotted out the sky seemed to be weighed down by invisible objects weighing 100 times its body weight. It began flapping them with great difficulty. The King of the North immediately let out a furious roar as the loud sonic boom drilled into Frunzier's ears, making his stagger. With a whoosh, the pair of wings finally managed to flap, stirring up the snow and frost around it into the air. Although it was difficult on Ulysses' part, it eventually managed to fly. At that moment, disciplinary paladin Frunzier's expression turned solemn. He said a sentence constructed in ancient Hermes once again. "Violators will be punished." Just as he said that, his figure leaped up at a speed which was faster than Ulysses, as though he had been augmented by some unknown power. Ding! Frunzier extended his body in midair as he brandished the iron-black sword in hand, striking down at the King of the North's neck with his posture speaking great certainty of a hit. A clear crack appeared on the crystalline armor plates as it spread slightly. However, this failed to make Ulysses bleed. The frost dragon didn't even feel the pain as its eerie blue eyes locked onto Frunzier, its expression cruel and tyrannical. It then lifted up its front claws while Frunzier remained in midair without any means of dodging. At that critical moment, a hurricane blew over, pushing the black-armored disciplinary paladin away, causing Ulysses' strike to swipe at air. Its strike caused an explosive boom despite the miss. Elven songster Ciatas didn't hesitate to take action once she rushed out the cave, saving Frunzier immediately. Immediately following that, her hair flared up in violation of the laws of nature. They were distinct with swirling lightning bolts. She aimed her arrow at the large but slow, flying target in the sky, King of the North, before firmly pulling back the arrow. The sky turned dark, as though dark clouds had gathered as lightning bounced through them. Unable to fly smoothly due to the disciplinary paladin's influence, Ulysses suddenly pulled back its wings, swooping down at Ciatas like a high-speed train. At that moment, a grayish-blue figure that left one feeling safe had appeared in front of the King of the North's trajectory. Grozel genuflected once again, plunging the broadsword, which was unusable by human hands, in front of himself. Dome-like light surfaced, forming an invisible, impenetrable wall. Boom! The collision between the frost dragon and Grozel was like a terrifying explosion. It shattered the layers of ice around them, pushing them outwards. Grozel failed to keep his footing firm as he flew out like a ball, tumbling past Ciatas before slamming loudly into the mountain wall. A huge amount of snow and ice stalactites crashed from above, nearly causing an avalanche. As for Ulysses, it wasn't sent retreating. It remained standing in its original spot. Having had its swooping attack interrupted, its hind legs were in the ground as its body leaned forward. It shook its neck before aiming its open mouth at Ciatas. The Solomon Empire's noble, Mobit Zorost, had long arrived beside Ciatas. Upon seeing this, he hurriedly extended his right hand and rapidly turned his wrist. Ulysses forgot what it was doing despite having its mouth completely open. It stood there in a daze without continuing its attack. Suddenly, Mobit turned his head and spit to the side. Pooey! The spit was ordinary without any special traits to it. Seizing this opportunity, Snowman, the ascetic who came out, raised his arms as though he was embracing God's grace. Then, he said to the elven songster in ancient Hermes, "God says it's effective!" With a sizzling sound, the flashes of lightning surrounding Ciatas brightened greatly as they surged out, entangling with the arrow. She released her grip as an arrow shot out. Boom! Dark clouds gathered in the air as a thick bolt of lightning smote down, augmenting that arrow. The arrow turned completely silver, as though it was shot from the god of lightning. It struck Ulysses' forehead at a completely unavoidable speed. Layers of ice disappeared as the illusory armor plating cracked. The arrow stabbed into the King of the North's head, making it let out a deafening cry. Light blue blood gushed out, and quickly froze as the frost dragon's ugly face shook violently as silver bolts zapped at it. At that moment, Klein and Anderson came out of the cave. Disciplinary Paladin Frunzier had tumbled onto the ground before standing up again. Grozel extended his palms from the snow pile, rubbing his head. He didn't appear seriously injured. With so many teammates, I don't have to be the main assault force. I can attempt to control Ulyssen's spirit body threads. From my observations, it doesn't seem to have the defensive abilities of a demigod. Of course, it's much stronger than a Sequence 5. A 5-meter radius is a little dangerous. Klein looked at the frost dragon as he quickly had an idea.